Welcome back to Cossy Arsenal Podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new episode on the channel. We need to talk about the Arsenal players because we have seen another atrocious, disgusting performance from this team. And we will talk about Mikel Arteta. We will blame Mikel Arteta and serious as a manager. He got it wrong. He's out of ideas. But what about the players? For how long do they actually run away with it? For how long do we look at the manager and we never look at the players? So what I thought we would do on this part of the podcast is we would go into every player's performance against Fulham and we rank them out of 10. But also, apart from the player rating, we need to dissect deeper in the abilities of these players and whether they are actually doing enough, right? I think players like William Saliba picking up 2 yellow cards, just 2 yellow cards in around 20 games, he's doing enough. But is the rest of the team doing enough, right? Are these players actually doing enough? I don't think they are, and that is the reason as to why we are in this position. Arsenal now fourth, comfortably, not with a game in hand, but with Manchester City having a game in hand on us. Absolutely pathetic, but very, very enjoyable for the rivals to actually watch. And I think, again, the last 2 games of the year have been the worst we have seen from Arsenal. The last 5 games of this year have been the worst we've seen from this team. And Mikel Arteta has got answers to find in January, in the during the international break. There's so many answers he's got to find because at the moment, he's not a title contender. Like he said, I'm not a title contender. We are not a title contender if we are not scoring goals. We are not title contenders at the moment. That is on the pause. I was angry a little bit. I don't think we have bottled it. I think we are still there. But our chances of winning it right now are 1 in 90, right? So I think we are at 1% to win the title. I still think we will give a headache to Aston Villa, but Manchester City and Liverpool, boy oh boy, I don't think we are that level. But of course, talk to me in the comment box below. What is wrong with these players? Which players do you think are not doing enough? Because for me, I think the whole team is being let down by a couple of individuals. And this is where Mikel Arteta gets it wrong. We'll talk about Mikel as well. He keeps on choosing and picking the same players that are actually doing very, very poorly, and it lets the team down. It lets the team down, every single time and again. So let's start off with David Raya in goal. Raya against Fulham, again, just like any other game, he's not at fault for the goals, right? I think the Raul Jimenez goal, that is absolutely very, very good. I think it's a very good goal. He's got nothing to do that. He goes flying and the ball is on the ground. So I don't blame him. The second goal, probably don't blame him as well. And in many goals that we have conceded, you don't blame David Raya. But this is an interesting statistic for you. An interesting statistic for, Inaki Keina, the goalkeeping coach at Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta as well. David Raya has not kept a clean sheet in any game where an opposition has had 2 shots on target against Arsenal. So that means that any 2 shots on target against David Raya, 1 as a must has to hit the back of the net. That is simply not good enough. That is simply unacceptable from a goalkeeper who we've actually brought in to elevate the level. Mikel said in one of his press conferences this year, because it's not yet ended, he said that there was a time where he wanted to substitute the goalkeeper. There was a time where he wanted to take off one goalkeeper and bring on another because he thought and he felt like that was the difference at the moment. That could have made the difference at the moment, and he said he didn't have the ability to do that. I tell you, this is the time for you to switch to another goalkeeper. This is the time for you to go, well, David Raya, we have seen enough from you. You're a very good goalkeeper with your feet, but you're not so good with saves. You're not actually keeping the ball out of the net. You're not keeping the ball out of the back of the net. You're actually a fisherman. You're literally fishing the balls out of the back of the net. So literally, we've got to try Ramsdale again. That is the reason as to why we have 2 goalkeepers at a high level competing at the same time. It's the same. For me, I can't lie. Ramsdale Raya in this game, I'll give him a 4 out of 10 because he was not atrocious. He was not very poor, right? But if we are conceding a goal on every 2 shots on target, we might as well just bring back our goalkeeper. because Ramsdale kept us in games for a very long time. He did keep us in certain games. Anfield, at Anfield, did keep us in games. It did keep us in games at against Manchester United at the Emirates Stadium last season. He did keep us in games against Newcastle, Tottenham Hotspur, Brighton, and a couple of other games. So for me, I'm not going against David Raya, but I'm saying these performances are not convincing enough for a new goalkeeper who has actually come in as an upgrade to the existing goalkeeper. They're not good enough. They're simply unacceptable. So for me, 4 out of 10 for David Raya, and I don't think anyone is going to disagree with that. The last 2 games, Fulham and West Ham, his distribution has shut down. He's been atrocious when it comes to finding the right passes, and I think Mikel Arteta now sees it. Why not get that 38 million that we were, lousing around with in the summer, plus 75 million that we spent on Kai Havertz? That is 110 million. That gets you a decent striker. That was the problem. The problem was, can you get a forward? What we did, we got a goalkeeper, a problem that we actually didn't have, and then we went and signed in Kai Havertz for an expensive fee. I thought Gabriel Viega would have done a very good job at 35 million euros. There's so many players that would have done the same job that you want Kai Havertz to do at a cheaper price. And you would have saved a lot of money, and you would have brought in number 9. So for David Raya, for me, this year, he's got to do better next year. Because this year, I'm not overly contented. I'm not overly confident about him in goal, the way I was confident when Ramsdale came in over Ben Leno, or when we brought in Saliba and Gabriel over Ben White and Rob Holding. William Saliba in this game, I think the defense has done all right. I think the defense has done all right, and to be honest, I still think they're doing all right. I don't think Saliba is to blame for the goals that we are conceding, and I don't think Gabriel is to blame for the goals that we are conceding as well, right? Of course, as defenders, you're going to have a bad game. You're going to have two bad games. We have seen it with City. We have seen it with Liverpool. Liverpool didn't beat Luton Town, right? Liverpool have also gone games where they've conceded a couple of goals, and Saliba consistently, he keeps on improving us as a team. It keeps on, standing between the opponents and us as a team. In this game, because it's the last day of the year, and we have lost our, top-notch status until further notice. In this game, I'll give Saliba a 3 out of 10. I don't think he's at fault for the goals, but I don't think he gave me a very good display. There was one time where he almost brought about a penalty. And I'm like, just clear the ball. It's as simple as that. Just clear the ball and we will be safe. So Saliba, for me, 3 out of 10, but best player at Arsenal in 2023. Most consistent player for us, most reliable player. And like he said, if he doesn't pick up that injury, probably the team would win the league. So William Saliba in this game, 3 out of 10, but it's purely out of frustration. Gabriel, the same. I'll give him a 3 out of 10. Actually, I think Gabriel in the last few games has been a very, very much better centre-back, especially after dropping to the bench and coming in this season. He's been good. He's been consistent. The mistakes have actually subsidized. He's tracking well. I'm happy with the centre-backs. I'm really, really happy with the centre-backs. So Gabriel, 3 out of 10. Not a very bad performance. Not a bad performance at all, actually. Benjamin White, a 2 out of 10. Again, this goes back to Mikel Arteta. When you bring in Ben White at right back, and you don't sign Ivan Frasneda, and you don't sign Max Aarons, and you don't sign all these players that we were linked with at right back, what is the plan? What is the plan? Why are we playing with a centre-back at right back? What is the plan? Is the plan to consolidate us defensively? Ben White is not the guy to do that. Is the plan to go and dominate the midfield, add that extra layer of a defender that can add to the midfield. Ben White is not that guy. Is the plan for you to create overloads on the right hand side with Saka, and so that Ben White can actually help him in these tight situations, bring in crosses, give Saka a couple of chances and all that. Ben White is not the guy to do that. So what does Ben White do that a natural right back does not do? Because if I have Aaron Van Bissaka, I am rest assured there is defensive solidity and guarantee. There's a padlock. If I have Trent Alexander-Arnold, I know I have a guy who can tack into the midfield, and I have a guy who can play that quality ball again and again and again. What is the assurance you get from Ben White? So 2 out of 10 in this game. He's good at disappearing in games, like just ghosts, and I think Mikel's manager knows that, right? Mikel's manager knows that there are a set of players that he loves very much, but at times they actually let the team down. Jakub Kiwior, he started ahead of Alexander Zinchenko, who was injured, and he also started ahead of Tomiyasu, who was just coming back from injury. Jakub Kiwior, I just give it 1 out of 10. Like, yeah, that was a bad performance. And again, it's a 1 out of 10, but it comes from the fact that the team is shite. The team is dreadful. The team is embarrassing and disgusting. It doesn't come from the fact that Kiwior was the worst player on the pitch. It comes from the fact that there is no way you're going to find extra points for players in this team. So for me, a 1 out of 10, and I think taking him off and bringing on Tomiyasu was a much better decision. Although Tomiyasu himself, he didn't do much, but you can see he's a much better player than Kiwior, and you've got to actually it's clear as day. Tomiyasu starts every single time over Kiwior, over Zinchenko, and I thought this was a game where Mikel Arteta would take a risk, right? You have to bounce back. Are you willing to take a risk? Are you willing to go, let me play Tomiyasu, even though he's just fresh from injury? Let me play him for 65 or 70 minutes and then bring on Kiwior later. He doesn't do that, and I'll just give Kiwior a 1 out of 10. Tomiyasu, 5 out of 10. Decent centre back, decent right back, decent left back. Again, today came on at left back, and look, we were not overly exposed, but Fulham had the ball and they did the nice things. And you don't want the nice things to be done to your club, but this time they did them. So Tomiyasu, 5 out of 10. Declan Rice, 4 out of 10. I think I am very, very sure that Declan Rice is one of the best players in the Premier League at the moment. However, when you go on against the likes of Iwobi, Harry Wilson, Joao Palhinha, that is a different task actually, right? They're not as quality as Man City or West Ham, because West Ham do have a lot of quality in Edson Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse and Thomas Susek. But what we saw from Fulham today was an overly hard-working midfield, was an overly impressive midfield, an overly, ready midfield to have a say, to have a go. And that is what Arsenal do not have, and that's what we didn't have in our midfield. That's what we didn't have in our team. We didn't have players that are willing to go. We didn't have players that are willing to, create the difference. We've got to do better than that. We've got to be better than that. So Declan Rice, 4 out of 10. Martin Odegaard, 5 out of 10. Now, again, Odegaard in this game, blunt. That's the word, blunt. He was deeper. He was carrying the ball very, very well. And his distribution has never had a question. We will never question the ball distribution of Martin Odegaard. What we will always question is where are the number nines? Where are the strikers he's supposed to feed? So today, Odegaard, his performance was average. Just average. There is nothing to like about it. There is nothing to commend about it. Just average, 5 out of 10. And I think he's one of those players that are very lucky that he is irreplaceable in this side. Because when he started the season, he really started at a very, very poor rate. He's now, coming around. Slowly but surely, he's coming around. He's building his confidence into games. He's impacting games, a little bit better. Although the rest of the team around him is actually down. So for me, Odegaard as captain, he's got to raise his levels and he's got to raise his game. Kai Havertz, it's not that I don't see what he does. It's because in games like this, he offers you literally nothing. Especially when you're trying to get back in the game. I'll give Kai a 4 out of 10, just like Declan Rice. Not a bad player. Not one of those players that you think are going to overly impact games, right? But I think his performance today, it was not there. It was just not there. I didn't see anything in it. I didn't see anything in his performance. I didn't see anything when it came to him, giving us something, giving us a difference, being a difference maker. I didn't see anything in that performance. So 4 out of 10. Martinelli, 3. Martinelli, 3. And the overall rating for Gabriel Martinelli in the whole season, in the whole season so far, 1 out of 10. Gabriel Martinelli is becoming dull. He's becoming a dull winger. He's becoming more like Anthony. There is no difference between Anthony and Martinelli, apart from a few goals that Martinelli has scored. He doesn't take on players. He's slow. And he is looking for safety every single time. Whether it is Mikel Arteta trying to tell these players that, listen, we've got to keep hold of possession, right? We've got to keep hold of possession. We've got to keep we've got to keep the ball. Don't risk it. If he starts, then there is nothing the players can do. But if it's not that, we've got to ask the question: why is Gabriel Martinelli on a downward trend? What's going on? Next one there is Bukayo Saka. Saka in this game, 6 out of 10. I think Saka is dreadful. He was dreadful, but he did score a goal. And that is the last goal we've scored in 2023. But dreadful. He was voted man of the match by, I think, the Premier League. I don't even understand why he's the man of the match, right? But he was dreadful. And he needs to be better. He knows he needs to be better. This team depends on him. The life of this team depends on him. Even if it's not about the title, even if it's just giving the fans what they deserve, Saka's got to do much better than that. He's got to be a much better player than that. Eddie Nketiah, 1 out of 10. Just like Kivio, I think Eddie didn't get any service and he struggled to get into the game. But that is Eddie. And when Mikel says he's untouchable, he's not for sale, we will keep him, we will love him, I have no comments about that. Jesus, when he came on, you can give him a 2, you can give him a 3, you can give him a 4. Depends on what you saw. Leandro Trossard as well. You can give him a 1, you can give him a 2, depending on what you saw. But the whole point of this video, and why I wanted to highlight every player's performance on a scale of 1 to 10, is I want you to see the manager is trying as much as he can, but are the players trying in a similar way? I don't think they are. I'll be doing a live, not really a live stream, but we'll be uploading another podcast with Glenn, and we'll be diving into the goal problem at Arsenal. I want to share different perspectives on what's going on. Why don't we score enough goals? And how do we improve the problem? And what do we do with these guys that are really underperforming at a very crucial moment? I'll see you in the next part of the podcast. Hit the like button. Follow me on my socials, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and I will see you very soon.